Alrighty, hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew, and of course with me as always,
That's me, Zachary.
it's your boys here at the Nitpick Central podcast, coming at you live here, and today, we're not going to beat around the bush.
No, sir.
You've seen the title, I'm sure you've seen the trailer, since now I'm pretty sure it's the number one viewed trailer of all time.
Everybody's seen this
over
trailer.
a billion views. Yeah, but anyway, this is your boys here with Nitpick Central, going over what to expect from Spider-Man Brand New Day. And if you couldn't tell just from the sound of my voice, I am already grinning from ear to ear. I've been looking forward to talking about this movie and this trailer since it dropped. You know, if you have tuned into our most recent content, you might have seen the reaction that I dropped whenever the trailer first dropped, like the morning of, and like, believe you me, I was super tired, but I was not missing this trailer for the life of me. To those of you who've seen that YouTube video, you'll know exactly what I thought of it. I was absolutely geeking.
Oh yeah, well, like, dude, I'm pretty sure a few hours later, after you recorded yourself, I woke up and saw Sony's like movie studio YouTube channel, and I remember I wasn't even conscious yet. I was still like brain fogged to the max, and I saw that. I immediately clicked and hit play. I was like, "Yep, we're watching this right now."
Yes, sir.
And watched it maybe 2 or 3 times because there were so many times where like I said, I had so much brain fog that I was like, did I actually see that? Let's watch it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was literally within the hour you called me and was just like, dude, did you watch the Spider-Man trailer? And I think me and you talked about that trailer for like a solid 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, we like,
and then we watched it again.
Yeah, no, literally. To basically get us off to the races here, this movie, Spider-Man Brand New Day, is acting as a fresh chapter for Peter Parker, and of course it's the 4th official MCU Spider-Man movie set after the events of No Way Home. And I think this is kind of a landmark kind of movie in a way, because, I mean, to those who may or may not know, we were actually supposed to get a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi coming back to, you know, star and direct the movie. But obviously that never happened, unfortunately. We're finally getting a Spider-Man 4 now, and it's in the form of Brand New Day. So, Zach, what are your thoughts on this fresh start for Peter Parker? Because at this point, this Spider-Man has been through a lot.
Well, in my opinion, I'm excited because now we're getting more of a rounded Peter Parker story, I feel like. So this I feel like is more... The other 3 movies were clouded by the MCU, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah,
the Spider-Man movies were definitely the ones that were catching the flack over the major MCU events. Like, Spider-Man Homecoming was after the events of Civil War, and then you had what was it, Far From Home, that was after Endgame, I think.
Yep.
And then obviously Far From Home and No Way Home they take place within seconds of each other. So obviously No Way Home kind of deals with that flag, but also kind of bridges into the multiverse.
Yeah.
And then this one I feel like is finally its own Spider-Man movie, if that makes any sense. Like, obviously we're gonna have some MCU callbacks and stuff. I'm sure we're gonna hear from the new Avengers, or at least see a couple of them and stuff like that. Yeah. But overall, this entire movie, I'm excited because it's like straight up Spider-Man. And I'm interested to see what kind of direction they take, because now he's got the updated suit, which, speaking of which, the suit...
Such a gorgeous looking suit, man.
we've got the suit now, and some of the shots that they showed off in the trailer, crazy. Like, the one inside the mask while he's swinging, I don't know whose idea that was, but that person needs a raise. And they pulled it off great, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But he's got the suit. Nobody remembers him after Doctor Strange's spell. He's out there catching crooks, listening to the police scanner. As far as I'm concerned, this is just a reset of the MCU-ified Spider-Man, and is now just officially Spider-Man, or Man-Spider, depending on how this story goes.
Yeah, dude, like, you see, with all the different rumors that were going around with this movie, the mutation aspect of it, I was not expecting whatsoever. That completely took me off guard.
Especially since you got grilled for it on the socials.
Oh my god.
38,000 views.
So, to those who don't know, your boy here, Andy, he made a bit of a blunder. So, well, I guess it's not really a blunder because, you know, for me, I try not to follow
assumption.
Yes, very much so. I try not to follow leaks, right? But, you know, if I see one, it's more than likely because I was just scrolling, like whether it's on Instagram and I see a video, or even if I'm scrolling through the comments section on a video on a social media, and I see a comment that someone says like, oh yeah, I saw this, you know, I'm not too tapped into leaks. Like, I like to have the authentic experience, right?
Yeah.
And quite literally, the day before the movie comes out, you know, they were doing these, the trailer. Before the day before the trailer comes out, you know, they were doing this like social media worldwide kind of fan campaign where they basically had people from all around the world post different snippets of their like second or two of the trailer. And for me, I thought that was cool. Like, I thought that was really, really sick. And I feel like that kind of helped it gain the notoriety it had. And now, again, it's the most viewed trailer for a movie of all time. So for me, I feel like that campaign was nothing but a runaway success. But yeah, basically, in one of the comments sections on Twitter, people talking about one of the clips, I saw someone reference like, oh, you know, like, the organic webbing in this movie is going to be crazy. It's going to be interesting how they do that, or something like that. And like, at that point in the day, it had been probably like the second or third thing I had seen about people talking about organic webbing when it comes to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I'm like, what are people talking about?
I remember you told me about this too, I think.
Yeah.
That night.
It was one of the things we talked about when I got home from work, I think, because I was like, yeah, I don't know if you've seen these like comments on like all these different clips where like people keep talking about organic webbing. What are they on? Like, what are they smoking? You know, like, I thought they were the crazy ones, but no, I was the idiot, I guess, because quite literally in less than 12 hours, I was proven wrong, and all those people were right. And of course, we see Tom Holland have organic webbing of some sort in the movie, or in the trailer. I keep referencing the movie. Oh my god.
Yeah, we've already seen the movie, folks. We're trying to keep it low key.
Yeah. This just in: Darth Vader cameos in Spider-Man: Brand New Day.
We can confirm.
Yeah.
Elmo
you heard it here first.
is in Doomsday.
Oh my god. Not Elmo. No, it's freaking Shadow from Sonic. He'll pop out too.
Shadow from Sonic. No Rocky from Project Hail Mary.
Oh my god. If he has like a who is Spider-Man? Question?
Oh man, him and the Thing are gonna be best friends.
No, literally. Oh gosh. But yeah, like it was just so funny how, you know, I was so confident that I wasn't the crazy one. But again, the trailer had a beautiful way of proving me wrong, because like I said, like, I was taken off guard, and I just think that's a super interesting direction to go in, especially since, you know, there's going to be a lot of returning characters here, and, you know, some of them we've seen already, you know, like obviously Bruce Banner and the Hulk, you know, played by Mark Ruffalo, the Punisher played by the one and only John Bernthal. That's going to be sick, especially after his appearances in Daredevil Born Again, and soon to be the Punisher One Shot, One Kill, or One Last Kill special.
Yeah.
That's coming out soon. And finally, one of the many like pre-Endgame MCU post-credit scenes is finally going to be paid off with Michael Mando coming back as Scorpion.
Finally,
Yeah, that's gonna be sick to see because, you know, for me, I don't know about a lot of you, but I've seen Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, like that animated show they have on Disney Plus, and that show got a lot darker and a lot more serious than I initially thought it would be. And that fight scene between Peter and the Scorpion in that show, I thought was perfect almost. Like, I mean, just like the execution of it and like what it meant for the story at the time, like I thought it was excellent. And like if they can even bring a slice of that energy into this movie, I think we're gonna have a banger on our hands. And at the end of the day, I just hope they do Scorpion right, because again, I just feel like, especially with how we've seen the tale so far, I mean, we've only seen a little bit from the trailer, but I feel like we could have some really brutal fight scenes between Spider-Man and Scorpion that, again, if they can capture that same energy from Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, it could be really, really cool.
Well, and I think they're bringing back, how many comic book characters did they show off in this trailer? One, two. I mean, it's got to be like 8 of them.
Know. Yeah, like they were not shy about showing off like the rest of the universe that Spider-Man resides in, which I feel like this movie in particular is really going to kind of fulfill the promise of the premise that we originally got with the idea of Spider-Man being in the MCU.
Oh, yeah.
To call back what you said, Zach, earlier, you know, like Tom Holland's first 3 movies, you know, I like most of them. You know, I'm not too thrilled about Far From Home, and I feel like No Way Home, at least the first half, is pretty meh compared to the second half. But I feel like those movies that he was just so anchored down by the surrounding cinematic universe that Spider-Man himself didn't really get a chance to shine outside of the characters he was surrounded by.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like this movie is really going to have him be the focal point. I mean, he's always kind of been the center of the movies, obviously, because his name's on the cover, duh. But again, like, it just felt like the first 3 movies were more centered around, at least in the first 2, you know, like, oh hey, look here, look at Iron Man. You remember Iron Man, right? And you remember like their you know, dynamic that they had in Civil War. You know, they kind of carried that over into Homecoming. And then for Far From Home, it was more or less just like an epilogue to Endgame in some ways, and was, you know, because like you see Iron Man all over the place in that movie still, you know, whether he's on like a mural or a screen at the airport, or, you know, they're just straight up talking about him, you know. And then at the very end, there was that moment when Happy was talking to Peter, you know, after he got hit by a train from Mysterio. He's like, you just got to be the best you, or something like that. And then they go off and do like an Iron Man nod, and they start playing some, what was it, like Aerosmith or something?
I think so, or AC/DC or something, Metallica or something like that. Yeah,
one of the two. You know, as they started playing that kind of music that, you know, Tony would have listened to while making one of his suits, while Peter is making his new suit that he used for the final fight in that movie.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in No Way Home, that movie was just a celebration of Spider-Man more than anything. And of course was a big nostalgia kick, you know, with the old villains coming back, and everyone's favorite, you know, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire came back. We all loved it. There's the best part about that movie, honestly. So like, there's just been so much taking away from Tom Holland's Peter, I feel, and I feel like this movie is just going to be laser focused finally on Peter just being Spider-Man in his own world, basically, while residing in the MCU. And I just feel like we're really gonna see what that looks like how we all pictured it going into Homecoming initially. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for when it comes to this movie. Like I'm hoping, like you were saying, it's just not as anchored down with everything. I hope it's very much its own. Now, granted, I can very easily see with just because of how close the release dates are, I can very easily see the only other thing that could anchor this movie down is Daredevil, essentially, like the events that happened in Daredevil, Born Again. That's about it, and that's all I'm really hoping for too. Like I would love to see Mayor Fisk and Spider-Man duke it out. I think that would be so cool. Finally see Mayor Fisk and Spider-Man duke it out. But I'm also I think I told you this the other day too, I'm also hoping this movie somewhat captures some of the flack from Daredevil, because obviously we got the AVTF everywhere. This is like Marvel's version of ICE, essentially.
Yeah.
But there's no way that the only vigilantes that they are hunting is the Swordsman, Punisher, and Daredevil. Yeah. There's no way. So I'm hoping that this movie not only has its own identity, obviously, with all these comic book characters that or comic book Spider-Man villain characters that we're seeing. Because, I mean, they had multiple moments within this trailer that were just straight comic book covers throughout this entire thing. And both me and you were just geeking about that. There's like 7 or 8 different comic book covers there. But, yeah, I'm hoping this movie straight up kind of figures out how to end Daredevil Born Again Season 2, if that makes any sense. Capitalizes off of the Punisher 1 or Punisher special. Yeah. And then takes it and runs with it from there and kind of does its own thing with it. So, plus I keep seeing the theories that there might be mutants in this movie.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect segue into talking about some of our theories about this movie. So I guess the biggest one that or one of the big ones, I feel like there's 2 big kind of theories kind of floating around here, so I'll kind of go into the first one here. But Sadie Sink's character, of course, you know, of Stranger Things fame, you know, she played Max in there, and I mean, she's been tied to at least 3 different characters so far, I feel, that she could possibly be playing. You know, one of them I've seen is Firestar,
I've
which,
seen that too.
for those who know, you know, she was one of the members of the trio that made up of Spider-Man, Firestar, and Iceman in the old show Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which, if that's a deep cut for you, welcome to my world. Loved that show as a kid.
So did I.
And then another one, I forgot. Some people have flown around the idea of her playing like an alternate version of Gwen Stacy.
I've been seeing that too.
Her basically being Tom's Gwen in a way. So that
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I feel like that would be weird, especially since like in this movie, you know, with MJ coming back too, you know, like Zendaya coming back as MJ, like a love triangle in the middle of everything else, I feel like that would be a little much.
I think so too.
So I really hope that's not the case. But of course, the big one, Sadie Sink may or may not be playing Jean Grey.
Oh yeah.
One of the X-Men, you know what I mean? Like that I feel like would be perfect because one, she's young. I think she's like 22, 23. And I mean, she looks super young too. So she could potentially play Jean Grey for 20, 30 years. Yeah, if she really wanted to. And I don't know if you've seen here recently, but as of right now, if rumors are to be believed, like I said, I don't know if this is 100% true, but Sadie Sink has signed on, I think, for like a 5 or 6 picture deal with Marvel, including Secret Wars and Spider-Man.
Word?
So, you know, if I'm trying to, well, what's the saying? Like, I'm not trying to miss the forest through the trees or whatever.
Okay.
If you're signing on with modern day Marvel for 5 pictures, I don't think you're playing Firestar. You know what I mean?
Definitely not playing Firestar.
So all signs are kind of pointing to that she's playing Jean Grey, especially with what we see in the trailer. You know, there's that one moment where Peter goes over to the tank after it probably crashed through a building and tried to kill a bunch of people. He takes off the door of the tank, and the old woman looks like she just came out of a possession, and she's super confused and doesn't know what's going on. And then we see the surrounding policemen kind of get taken over one by one, and the voiceover in the trailer too is like, we're getting attacked by an entity or a person or a thing that we can't see. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it really, I mean, they're basically saying it without saying it at this point. So yeah, Jean Grey is another, again, big part about this movie that may or may not happen. But Zach, take us away with the other big prevailing theory that's going around about this movie.
Okay, yes, the other big theory, the man spider theory that's going around.
Yeah.
So, I don't know exactly how I feel about this just yet. I'm hyped, don't get me wrong. I'm very hyped if they take that direction, because that is going to be really cool to see on the big screen. But what the other half of the coin that's got me kind of curious is, what are they gonna do with that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if this movie is very much Peter is now finally on his own, it's him fighting iconic villains. Obviously, he's got beef with the Punisher. He's probably fighting for his life with the AVTF. And now he's mutating? Now, that would also be low-key the perfect theme for this movie for Jean Grey, because she also did that and is now a mutant. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't know how I feel about that just yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. How are you feeling about this man spider possibly being in this movie?
Well, I'm of two minds. One, I feel like it has to be something that's central to the movie, especially since it's such a big part about the trailer, I feel.
Yeah.
Because they literally, they had the beginning, setting up the tone about how, no one remembers him. MJ and Ned don't remember him. They're living their best lives without him, basically. And then pretty much after all of that drama set in, and we get to see a little bit of fun, with the bus sequence and the Punisher and all that kind of stuff. It then cuts to the part where he's like, what is happening to me? And then he collapses. And then it cuts to that scene where he's breaking out of his web cocoon, and then he falls and shows off his organic webbing. And then again, the rest of the trailer kind of goes around that theory of, spiders have 3 lives, and, in the transition between lives, they're vulnerable, but if they make it through, it could be some sort of rebirth. So I wonder if they're almost doing a twist on Spider-Man 2, where Peter's inner turmoil with himself and how he feels about himself in the world is messing with his powers, and because maybe he feels like a monster, and so that's kind of manifesting this mutation in him. And after he basically gets over that mutation, maybe he'll be the strongest he's ever been, or maybe his spider sense will be the most in tune that we've ever seen. And I feel like we've already seen some pretty insane things that Tom's Spider-Man has pulled off with his spider sense, especially the end of Far From Home, and of course that iconic apartment fight with him.
Oh my god, yes.
So I'm just super curious to see if they do something like that, and kind of along the monster angle. I feel like they're also kind of pulling a lot from the 1994 animated show. And in that show, coincidentally, the Punisher also showed up pretty much around the same time that Peter was mutating in the show. And then the Punisher was one of the main people hunting Man-Spider after Peter mutated. So I wonder if we're going to see something like that, because you've seen already, or at least I have, certain interviews with Tom Holland talking about, oh, John Bernthal, he shines in this movie. We more or less just kind of picked him up and plucked him into our world. And it's been described as almost like a little brother, big brother kind of dynamic that they have going on.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's going to be an angle where, obviously Tom was the little brother to John, or to the Punisher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sure they're going to beef, and, I'm sure they're definitely going to disagree on how to, do things. Spider-Man doesn't kill versus Punisher has literally no problem with offing someone for looking at him wrong. But I wonder if it's going to be a point where, Man-Spider gets unleashed and Punisher is hunting for him because he's one of the only people capable of tracking and possibly putting him down. And then when he figures out that it's Peter, or that it's Spider-Man, he's like, maybe it's going to be one of those things where like, oh, this isn't you, kid. What happened? And then he's going to try to work with maybe Bruce Banner to find a cure. Like, at this point, I'm just spitting. But like, I just feel like that this is a super interesting premise, and I hope they do something cool with it, because this would be by far the most unique thing we've seen in a Spider-Man movie leading up to this point. Like, we've seen Spider-Man fight Thanos, we've seen Spider-Man fight classic villains like the Vulture and Mysterio, and now Green Goblin and Doc Ock, but like almost kind of fighting himself and at war with himself, and he literally mutates into this big monstrous beast with possibly with multiple arms and like a freakish face. Like if they pull any sort of inspiration again from the 1994 version of Man-Spider, where he's like an extra 3 feet tall, has 6 arms, and just has a weird like mutated spider looking face with 8 eyes and fangs. Like, do you know how metal that could be? Like, if just this kind of quirky, lighthearted, action adventure movie with Spider-Man kind of turns into a horror like monster movie there kind of towards the end. Honestly, I feel like that would be cool.
I feel like that would also be cool. Plus, we haven't really seen anything like that in Marvel besides like Werewolf at Night, but even then that wasn't like super scary, if that makes any sense. Not along these lines, where like a literal friendly neighborhood that Spider-Man that everybody knows and loves turns into a literal monster. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. And I feel like it would be a good juxtaposition too, because in the trailer, we see whether it's the mayor or superintendent, or not a superintendent, this isn't a freaking school, it's a city. But like, we see someone give Spider-Man the key to the city. And so I wonder if, like, because of his mutation, that'll also kind of lead him to, have the city hate on him towards like the middle portion, depending on how quickly they get into the mutation thing. Because if he starts mutating and starts like messing things up and potentially killing people, I mean, do you know how bad of a look that's going to be on the city of New York for giving the key to the city to a murderer? You know what I mean? So I feel like that would be wild.
Speaking of which, I don't know if you've seen this. I think I've talked to you about this a couple times. I've also been seeing the theory that Martin Lee, Mr. Negative, might be making an appearance in this movie.
Yep. I have seen that. And, there have been quick little snapshots and photos of like the tanks and the armored cars that we've seen in the trailers and everything, and they had the Demon logo on there. So that would be cool. I would definitely be open for that. And oh my god, like this just came to my head. Like, I wonder if I wonder if like Peter goes up against Mr. Negative, and because of the nature of Mr. Negative's powers, maybe that stokes the mutation in Peter. You know what I mean? Like at the cellular level. You know what I mean? And then of course, like, it's going to affect his mind, but while also corrupting his mind, it's going to corrupt his DNA, maybe?
That would be interesting. I'm also interested. I think you were the one that shot this by me the other day. And then I kind of took it and swapped it on its head, but where is Mayor Fisk in this, and why do we have another mayor?
Yeah, no, that's going to be interesting. Like, I remember talking about it. Like, I'm wondering if this trailer that we've seen almost inadvertently spoils the end of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, because, you know, like I said just a few minutes ago, who exactly is giving Spider-Man the key to the city? Like, it's not just any Joe Schmo, and definitely not a high school superintendent. So,
no, it's the principal.
Just the principal of the local elementary school.
Principal of New York.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, like, I wonder, are we just not going to see Fisk or, you know, any of the anti-villain league, or not league, what is this? Freaking Justice League, DC, the anti-villain task force. My goodness, I need to get my villain organization straight.
Wrong organization.
Yeah. So I wonder if, you know, we're going to see any of them, like how you were saying. So, like, it's just going to be very interesting. So I'm just very curious to see how they're going to do that. And again, like, I just hope that this movie didn't spoil the end of Daredevil Season 2.
Same.
So hopefully, I mean, I'm still going to be tuning in every single week until Season 2 stops airing. But yeah, like, it's just going to be very interesting to see where that goes, especially since what we know with what we have now seen in Daredevil Born Again Season 2 versus the end of this trailer. It just makes you wonder, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But another thing too, dude, I wanted to bring this up. The Hand, you know, speaking of villain organizations, like, how do you feel like the Hand is going to, like, how big of a part do you think they're going to play in this movie?
Well, one of two things I could see going here. One, what a awesome shot that they show off in this trailer. Two of them, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. There's the one with him leaping towards them, iconic. And then there's the one with him literally breaking a sword in half with webs. Oh no, I think he does it with his bare hands.
No, he does it with webs, because, like,
does he? That's what I thought.
I think it's like a taller one. He's like coming down on him with it, and he has it, and then he yanks it apart, and then again you get to see a gorgeous shot of, like, the back half of the suit, and you get to see the wrinkles and everything. Like, you can tell finally they're letting Tom wear a suit, and they're not going to paint it over with CGI the entire time.
Thank God. But that scene that we keep talking about also raises suspicion for me, because it looks like a prison break that Spider-Man's trying to stop. It looks like they're in a prison, in my opinion. So what is the Hand doing in the prison? Like, who are they trying to break out? But you know, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And why is Spider-Man trying to stop them?
Yeah.
But
bigger question: why does Spider-Man have his mask off in that shot?
Oh, so the Hand already has to know who Spider-Man is. What if they're hunting him for some reason?
Yeah. Who knows? But I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're good. I was just saying, I wondered who hired the Hand?
Yeah.
For this occasion, why Spider-Man is trying to stop them, and just like what you said, I didn't even realize that till you mentioned it. Why is Spider-Man have his mask off? So they obviously already know Peter Parker is Spider-Man. They have to.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess to wrap around, like, who maybe hired the Hand, my biggest guess would be Tombstone. I mean, we never really got to see him in this trailer yet, but he's confirmed to be in the movie. So I'm sure we'll see a little bit of him in trailer number 2 when that eventually drops. I mean, for all we know, that could drop literally the day after we record this, so that would be kind of hilarious. But yeah, like I wonder if Tombstone plays a part in, you know, getting the hand involved. You know, maybe like I wonder if it would be a case where he hires the hand as almost like, what's it called, like a red herring, you know, like basically hiring them to distract Spider-Man and to throw him off his game. So whatever the ultimate mystery or conspiracy is that Tombstone has cooking up with the rest of New York, Spider-Man will just be none the wiser because he's got ninjas to take care of, you know.
Which, all in all, it is so cool to see the hand on screen, finally.
Yes. Like, we've seen a couple different versions of the hand, you know, like, for me and Zach, you know, we're in the middle of our rewatch of some certain movies, you know, we'll kind of get into that here in good time, but needless to say, we've seen a version of the hand already in some early Marvel movies. And, of course, we've also seen the hand depicted in season 2, I believe, of Daredevil, like from Netflix. And so that was interesting. Yeah. But it seems like this version of the hand is definitely its own thing.
That's what I mean, too.
Of course, I guess we don't know entirely sure, like 100% that this is the hand, but all signs are kind of all pointing to that it's another version of the hand. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But another thing, dude, that I wanted to bring to your attention, because for me, I feel like I don't think this would necessarily be a make or break aspect of the movie, but it's definitely something that I feel like if it doesn't get addressed, then I feel like the movie won't really work, especially when it comes to the more emotional, you know, personable things for Peter.
Yeah.
And that's in relation to the spell from the end of No Way Home.
Yeah, dude, I'm so glad you brought that up. I'll let you finish, but there's a couple theories I want to throw your way as well about that.
Yeah. So I guess like what I'm more wanting to see from this movie, I mean, we've already kind of seen a little bit based on the trailer, you know, again, no one knows who Peter is now, because I mean, you got to imagine in No Way Home, dude was literally swinging around half the time before he was hunting the villains. Yeah. He was literally swinging around in broad daylight without a suit on, you know, like there was that scene towards the beginning of the film, like after his charges were dropped, because, you know, Daredevil's a really good lawyer. He was literally swinging around in broad daylight in just normal clothes on his way to the coffee shop, so him, MJ, and Ned could all open their MIT letters at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, he just lands in the middle of the street like it's no one's business, just wearing his normal clothes. So he's going from that to basically being an NPC in the corner of a coffee shop now. You know what I mean? Like that one shot of Ned walking into the shop and just not even acknowledging that Peter's there. You know, like Peter might as well not even be in the room with Ned at that point, you know?
It's just such a sad moment too.
Yeah, because I mean, they were so tight. You know, they built the Lego Death Star together, and he was his guy in the chair. He watched porn. He's the CEO of sex.
Like, yes.
Like their friendship, I think, is just so sweet. And dude, like that scene at the end of No Way Home when he was like, "Yeah, man, I'll come find you." Like, oh man. Dude,
when that movie was in theaters, I think me and you watched it like 12 times together.
Oh, yeah.
We watched it like 4 times in IMAX, I think. But every single time, the movie itself became a meme to me after a while, but the end piece really kind of takes you and sucks you into the moment. Yeah. Where you feel that, and I felt that every time we watched that movie.
Yup.
Genuinely made me cry.
Yeah. It's just so hard. Like, literally, again, like that last half of No Way Home is probably the best that Peter Parker, or that Tom Holland's Peter Parker, has ever been in the MCU up until Brand New Day, I would say.
Oh yeah.
But to circle back around, like, I just hope that we really get to sit with the reality that, again, no one knows who Peter is. MJ doesn't know him, doesn't love him. Ned doesn't know him, and they're not best friends. And I just hope the movie doesn't rush to kind of get back to that status quo. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really hope we get to see the fallout from that and how Peter feels about it and what he's been doing to cope with it. I mean, obviously it's going to be a lot of him just nosediving into being Spider-Man and forgetting about Peter Parker entirely. And again, like, just kind of finding that resolution with himself, like, oh, I can move on, and I can help Peter Parker along with taking care of the city as Spider-Man. And again, like, I just really hope that along with that slow gradual build up to him and MJ getting back together and him meeting back up with Ned, I hope they do a little bit more legwork, and it doesn't have to be anything overt. Like, they literally don't have to have a scene where it's like, oh, this is because of the spell. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be anything like that. But like, if they could just be smart with the filmmaking and the storytelling visually, so we can see, with context clues and everything. Like, basically, don't treat us like we're 9. Like, just let the movie be a movie and show us visually, like, how exactly else the spell affected the rest of the world. Because we've seen snippets here and there, like, if you've seen like the extra scenes at the end of No Way Home, like in the more fun stuff version, they have an alternate end credit scene where you get to see the picture that they took in, I think it's Italy or something like that.
Oh yeah, from Far From Home.
Yeah, they have this big group picture of the whole class, and Peter's in the picture, but coincidentally in this picture now there's a bird that's flying in the middle of the shot that covers Peter's face.
Well, dude, now that we're on the subject, I'm pretty sure even in Deadpool and Wolverine there's a moment like that, and in Happy's office where his face is being blocked by, what is it, a hand? Robert Downey Jr.'s hand or something? Mask. Iron Man mask, there you go.
Because it's that one picture of him and Tony where I think Peter's got like some sort of award or something, and Tony's giving him like the bunny ears kind of fingers, like holding up fingers behind his head, and like the Iron Man helmet is angled perfectly to where you can see Tony, but you can't see who he's standing with. But people who know that picture know exactly who he's standing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and like there's stuff like that, and I know there's a lot of people who are getting into the nitty-gritty of things when it comes to the spell, like how is he even allowed to do anything, because he's just a person without an ID, without a history, so how can he get an apartment, GED, things of that nature. Like, I don't really need it to go that in depth. I mean, if it does, cool, but at the end of the day, I just need to see a little bit more clear cut on how the spell works. And again, like when it comes to things like documents or like maybe things that Peter has signed over the years, like it would just be really nice to have like a nice clear answer as to how the spell worked, because I feel like you shouldn't have to see an alternate version of the same movie to kind of get how the spell ultimately worked at the end of the day. And the fact that is just an extra version of the movie, so at least to me, I don't think it's like the definitive, or like, I guess you could say the canon version of the story. So if you're going off just the base No Way Home movie, like the not the more fun stuff version, the movie that we ended up getting really doesn't be clear exactly on how the spell works. I mean, yes, the whole world forgets about Peter Parker, but remembers Spider-Man. Cool, but how? You know what I mean?
Honestly, I feel like what you were saying though, I don't need it to go that far into depth, because I feel like that's going to take away from the movie.
Yes. Because I remember shortly after No Way Home came out, that was something that the writers and the director of the movie straight up talked about too. We're like, how much time do we want to dedicate to explaining the spell at the end, after everything else is going on, and it's already been pretty long at that point. So do we want to dedicate like a 5-ish minute sequence on exactly how the spell worked or not? So again, like, we just never really got a clear answer. And so having something that's, again, a little bit more clear cut and like nailed down, so we can have like a definitive, this is why this happens, and so that's why we're here kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Also, hear me out. This just came to my head. Just listening off of one of your theories that you were talking about, like how would Peter go around and have an ID or sign documents or anything like that, dude? I doubt they'll do it because Sony is petty, and I hope they listen to this podcast because you are very much petty with Spider-Man.
Yes.
But anyway, what if Peter uses the alias Ben Reilly?
Ooh. Now that could be interesting.
That would be cool. Even if it was like a little throwaway gag, like at the beginning, you know what I mean, where he like flashes his ID or something and it just says Ben Reilly on it. That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be interesting. Like, that's just kind of a name that he goes by.
Yeah.
Like maybe he could literally say, especially with how the world works nowadays, I feel like there's a ton of people out there who don't give out their real names unless it's like family or like super close friends.
Yeah.
Especially on things like social media and things like that. So like, he could easily explain that away. Like, oh yeah, it's just a name that I use, until I, kind of get more comfortable with people, something like that. Or it's a handle that I use on social media. Like, I feel like that would work just fine. We do get to see, though, I think in the trailer, kind of towards the end of the trailer, where Peter's at that house party with MJ and Ned, and he sees MJ kind of warming up to another dude, and she's possibly moving on, and she has that brilliant line. Whoever thought of this also needs a raise. But the whole thing where it's like, oh hey, yeah, these flowers are nice, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's just a housewarming gift. He's like, yeah, I'm just a neighbor or something. And she's like, oh, friendly neighbor. Like, I wonder, like, I can't remember exactly, but I think he says, I'm Peter, by the way, I'm a neighbor or something like that. So he, at least at that point in the movie, wherever it happens to be at, whenever that party takes place, I feel like they would have already met at that point, and like him maybe meeting her and Ned at the party is kind of like, not them rekindling things, but being like, oh hey, by the way, I think you're pretty cool, you should come to this party that me and my buddy are going to,
yeah,
and then it's kind of going from there. So like, again, like, it's just gonna be super interesting to see what they do. And I got one last theory to throw at you in case, or unless you had anything more to add or want to throw in here.
The only thing that I had was, I think it was you that noticed.
Yeah.
But towards the beginning of the movie, when we see MJ and Ned watching Spider-Man receive the key to the city.
Yeah.
In the background on, I don't know whose apartment this is, but the desk is covered in a conspiracy theory board about who is Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of perfect, because at the end of No Way Home, like, I'm wondering if it's MJ, because if again, it kind of goes back to the whole spell thing. Like, if they take the parameters of the spell to heart, everyone who is under the spell forgets Peter Parker, but they know Spider-Man. So at some point, MJ and Ned are going to be like, yeah, we did do some crazy shit with Spider-Man, but why? Like, they're going to know they had that past connection, but then all of a sudden, this person they did all this crazy stuff with is just leaving them alone, and it's just kind of doing his own thing, and is a superhero. And so I wonder if that kind of helps stoke the flames for MJ to go ahead and try to figure out who Spider-Man is, because that's exactly what she told Peter. She's like, because Peter's like, yeah, I'm gonna come find you guys, and she's like, you better, or if you don't, I'm just gonna figure it out again. I did it before, something like that. So I mean, they've kind of already planted that seed right there in the previous movie. So I mean, if that's the case, and like that's her little like investigation board for Spider-Man, trying to figure out who it is, I mean, I feel like that would be kind of perfect.
That's what I was thinking too, but that was the only other theory I had. We pretty much covered everything I'm excited for, besides all the little throwaway gags that they did at the beginning, where Spider-Man's fighting minor villains like the Tarantula and Boomerang and stuff like that. I just think it'd be cool to see. Very reminiscent of the opening to Fantastic Four, which we actually watched the other day. That's where I got the vibes from, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, what a banger movie to take some inspiration from, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess the last thing that I wanted to touch on before we wrap this up is another character that we may or may not see.
Oh?
We got a little flavor of this in No Way Home, because Peter 1, I believe he was, Peter 2, I think Toby was Peter 2, but in Toby's appearance in No Way Home, he mentioned that his best friend Harry, they kind of twisted history a little bit, because he said, yeah, my best friend died in my arms right after he tried to kill me. It's not exactly what happened, but I kind of see where they were going for it. They didn't have a whole lot of time to explain Spider-Man 3. I get it. But I wonder, and I don't know if you've seen any rumors about this, but I wonder if we're going to get another Stranger Things alum in Joe Keery, who played Steve. Is he going to pop up in this movie, or maybe in this trilogy, if we end up getting a Tom Holland trilogy again? Is he going to pop up and play one Harry Osborn?
Honestly, I think he would play a pretty good Harry Osborn, because he kind of fits the age for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, if that makes any sense. So I would be very interested to see if they actually do that, because he is confirmed to be in the MCU, isn't he? Didn't he sign on for something?
I think he either signed on for something, or he's just been in talks, and like there's just been a lot of rumors swirling about here recently, and he's been asked about it, and he said, "Oh, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see," or something. That's like
what
that.
They all say, though.
Exactly. Like, you can't trust actors these days in modern Hollywood.
I don't trust Andrew Garfield anymore.
Nah, he is the werewolf. If you know that, you know.
I am not in No Way Home. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I just think that would be super cool to see. I mean, at the end of the day, with Harry Osborn comes Oscorp, and also comes Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin. So I just feel like that storyline with this version of Spider-Man is going to be tricky, because like with the context that Peter has, he's going to be like, oh well, I fought this guy before, but it's not the same guy, but it's basically the same guy. You know what I mean? So it's just going to be interesting to see. But I feel like if they tackle it from the version where he meets Harry first and then gets introduced to Norman and then gets introduced to Oscorp that way, more or less kind of how it happened in the same Raimi trilogy, but we kind of met them all at once from what I remember. Like there's the beginning when they're at the field trip, and Norman drops off Harry in the limo or whatever and gives him his book bag, and then I think shortly after that we get the scene where he's testing out like the armor for the military and everything.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of just one thing after another, but I think it would be really interesting if we get like a movie, maybe even a movie and a half, of just Peter and his new best friend Harry just kind of making their way through things. And then of course Peter has that dilemma of, oh, I got this person who's close to me and I want to protect them, but I'm also trying to protect the city at the same time, so I can't tell them who I really am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean that's just classic Spider-Man right there. So I just feel like that would be a nice touch, but they just need to be very, very careful with how they do that sort of thing, because I just feel like it could be real repetitive if they don't do it right, you know?
Yeah.
All that being said, you know, we've been doing a lot of rambling here. We're going to wrap this up here. But just as some quick things, again, I'm super excited for this movie, if you can't tell. I think the suit, we've kind of touched on it here and there, but the suit is gorgeous. I love the way it looks. Love the way it looks in the sunlight and the darkness. Like, I love the red. I love like the kind of more shiny blue that's on there, and you know, the raised webbing, kind of like how Tobey's Spider-Man suit had. Love that. We haven't seen much of the swinging quite yet from the trailer, but I really, really hope that there's a lot more sauce when it comes to Tom Holland's swinging, because we didn't really get to see a lot of Tom swinging as Spider-Man, let alone in Manhattan or in New York. You know what I mean? Like, we got to see bits and pieces here and there, but it was more function over style. You know, like if he was swinging, it was to go do something or to go somewhere or to chase someone. You know, like we never really got to see Spider-Man just have fun and, you know, kind of freestyle swing until like the very end of Far From Home. You know what I mean? Like in that last like 2 or 3 minute sequence there. So hope we get to see a little bit more of that. But again, that's just kind of me nitpicking here, but that's what we do best.
Of course.
But yeah, again, I'm super excited for this movie. Cannot wait. July 26th. Cannot get here soon enough. But Zach, is there anything else you wanted to add before we go?
In all honesty, we've pretty much, like you said, nitpicked this to death. I'm just excited to see where they take this and what the end of it's gonna look like. Is it gonna set up Doomsday? Is it gonna set up Secret Wars? And what is that gonna look like? You know what I mean?
Right. Like, are they gonna go as far as to setting up, potentially recreating a very, very iconic comic book cover as well in Secret Wars?
So.
You know, with the black suit? Like,
yeah.
Oh man. They better not fumble that. That's all I can say.
Oh yeah. But other than that, I am on the same page as you. I am super pumped for this movie to come out. I already know as soon as tickets go on sale, we are copying tickets to an IMAX showing on premiere night. We are watching this day one. Not even day one. We are watching day before.
Day zero, baby.
Day zero, yeah. But yeah, I'm hoping in the second trailer, if that comes out anytime soon, we see just a little bit more of just this world, and hopefully some swinging sauce, like you were saying, because we didn't really get much of that in this trailer either.
Yeah. Other than that amazing shot of him, you know, falling backwards and then doing his whole like nosedive, and you see the camera angle of his eye in the suit or in the mask, and then him, you know, just latching onto the skyscraper and swinging and everything. Like, didn't really get to see a lot of that. So like, again, getting to see Spider-Man freestyle swing and just have fun swinging around, like, that, give me a little bit of that, please.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, just want to see him just like do some parkour on top of buildings, swing around building tops and stuff.
Yes,
I think that'd be cool. But other than that, I'm just overall, I'm ready for this movie. I am ready for this movie.
Yeah. To put it short, I think this is going to be the Tom Holland Spider-Man movie that we've all been waiting for. You know, it's only been literally, I think by the time that this movie comes out, it will officially be 10 years that we've had Tom Holland as our Spider-Man, which I think is a good thing. I love Tom Holland. I think he's a great actor. I think he plays Spider-Man so well. And getting on the more kind of back to basics version of the character finally, I feel like is going to be a great change of pace.
Same.
But I think that's that. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, this has been Andrew and Zach, your boys here at the Nitpick Central podcast. talking about what we're hyped and what we're expecting from Spider-Man Brand New Day. Thank you all so much for watching and or listening, and we hope to see you all soon in the next one.
Shameless plug real quick.
Yeah.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, be expecting our full in-depth review on Spider-Man Brand New Day on our Road to Secret Wars. It will be on there.
Yes, it'll be on there. It'll be one of the later entries because we're kind of doing our own little order when it comes to that. You know, like we'll kind of go more into that here soon. You know, whenever we're kind of putting the finishing touches on like the first chapter, I guess you could say, of that whole saga that we got building up. But yeah, we're definitely going to be covering everything you could think of Marvel related, including Spider-Man Brand New Day. So just be on the lookout for that. And of course, you can check out our review of the movie whenever it drops here in a few months on our TikTok and our Instagram or Twitter, everywhere on Letterboxd. You know, we're going to be on there, on YouTube Shorts. Of course, you'll be able to find our review of the movie on things like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course YouTube. So again, that's at Nitpick Central on pretty much all of those platforms, and on TikTok we are Nitpick Central Talk. Other than that, again, thank you all so much for listening and tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next one. Peace.